What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the creed of crypto. I am Broke Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, I am very broke. It's the bottom of the damn pulse chart. My camera doesn't work. I'm going to pick up this laptop, throw it out the window. I got Crypto Ewok here with me as well. Welcome into all of you. DJ Moonboy, Valiant, Low Key, and more. Hit the like on the way in. We appreciate all of you guys being here tonight. And yeah, all-time low in caps. We have PulseChain just... really taking a tank over the last week here, mainly the Pulse token itself. Of course, we'll get to the rest of the ecosystem, the rest of crypto, figure out what the hell is going on. People at each other's throats in the community, mainly because prices are down, not really because of anything necessarily, I don't think, to do with PDI and stuff like that, or Rabby Wallet, or pick your goddamn drama, whatever it may be, tariffs, I don't know what else. Lots of different things going on. But we're here to hang with you, commiserate, talk about things, chill out, hang out, give whatever analysis that we have, and really hear from you guys. It's been great the last few weeks to have some nice chats at the end of the show to kind of go through and talk to all of you. So we're going to get into why we're at where we're at with Pulse right now, how long we're going to be waiting, what the hell's up with ETH. Markets are selling off a bit now in the news of the Trump tariffs that were released here a couple of hours ago. We'll get to all that. But Ewok, how are you? How are you feeling this fine Wednesday evening?
Another Wednesday, man. Hanging in there the best we can, navigating through all the landmines and FUD and everything else that there is, trying to capture some of these prices. That's
Yeah.
Buy them while we can. I was talking to DJ and Moonboy the other day, and here we thought we've been buying bottoms for the past 6 months or so, and just when you think it's about that bottom, and it goes a little bit lower, so got to keep scooping it up. That's all we can do.
Yeah, with what money is kind of many people's with many people's question, which I understand. And then when you said that to me earlier, I mean, it feels more like 2 years of like, oh, I better hurry up and get this clip in because the market might take off any time now. And here we are. It is now April of 2025, and I want to do my best to not act like it is just PulseChain. I mean, I know people are going to roll their eyes at that statement because of how this journey has been with Pulse over the last couple of years and stuff like that, especially, again, with the actual Pulse token versus everything else right now. But the market is still where it's at. We still have ETH below $1,900. It just dipped back down with Bitcoin just short term, I think, off of this tariff news over the last couple of hours, along with, it looks like, the after hours stock market and stuff. We got ETH at almost $1,800 again. So
Yep.
It's not just PulseChain. So I guess we can kind of just get into BTC and ETH with that. I'm going to kick it to you so I can finally fix this goddamn camera once and for all. But we got BTC at 83K pretty much. And it had been moving up actually today. Everything was before Trump came in and ruined it. But yeah, I think BTC was up to almost 87K. I mean, big deal. Whoa, it's now down 2.5%, 24 hours down to 83K. ETH a little bit over 1,800 at 1819 right now. It's down, of course, more than Bitcoin for the day. And when it goes up, it doesn't go up more than Bitcoin either. It just kind of is always horrible. But that's where ETH is. And yeah, in terms of where we're at in the cycle, we always kind of do a quick pulse check of where we are in the Bitcoin cycles. I mean, here we are in April. There's been times before Ewok, and I'll let you take it whatever direction you want with BTC or ETH, but we've had Aprils be extremely bullish in past cycles, especially for like Ethereum and altcoins. And we've still got ETH at a bottom, maybe, seemingly no bottom in sight. I think it's at about 0.22 versus BTC, which is just horrible. But yeah, where do you think we're at in terms of this market? And is it time to move the goalpost to 2026? There's just so much weird stuff happening now. Worst cycle for Ethereum ever so far. What do you make of all this as far as BTC, Ethereum, and a timeline here for us?
Well, I still don't think it's I don't think it's time to move the goalposts yet. I think in the previous cycles before, the old saying was sell in May and go away.
Right.
I don't know that we'll be in a position in May. So, but something else that we always have reminded people that the markets move so very quickly. When it does decide to take off, those candles can go green and skyrocket, hockey stick, in a matter of 8 weeks, 2 months usually. Overall is when they really, really run and take off, and everybody jumps in, and it just keeps piling on, and they kind of trickle a little bit as well, but there's still plenty of time. Yes, I think the markets are in a little uncertainty. The S&P, the Dow, all those are they're still fluctuating. So just with all the uncertainty there, it's going to trickle down into the Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin is obviously going to trickle into Ethereum, and then as we know, when Ethereum is done running, then it goes into the altcoin. So I don't think it's time to get nervous. I think I had said a couple weeks ago that even when we do bottom, I can still see it going sideways until the market decides what it wants to do and when it wants to finally take off. So, Bitcoin is still kind of respecting that line we talked about last week. I drew this on here many weeks ago, as far as the trend line goes, and it did respect it. It dipped below it, but now it got up to it. Now it's almost acting as a little bit of resistance. So we'll see how this week plays out. This is a daily candle, obviously. So, if it keeps struggling to get past this trend line, that could be trouble. I think anyway, it could dip a little bit lower. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. As far as Ethereum, yeah, I mean, it's bottom of the bottom. We just haven't seen any kind of real run up back since November of last year is when it finally started to kind of run up a little bit. It got up to a little over 4,000. And since then, it's just been on a slow spiral. The good thing is Hex unstakes are cheap. So, we're not having that issue. So it's very cheap to run any kind of smart contract on Ethereum right now. Very affordable. Unfortunately, you can't have both. You can't have the extremely high prices with the very, very low gas fees. So it's kind of a pick your poison type of thing. We are relying on money to come from the Ethereum side and bridge into our network. So, at some point we're gonna have to do one or the other, and I hope it is run, and I think it will. I think it will. It's just going to take some time to get everything straightened out.
Well, you would think so. I mean, I still stick to my guns that, I think we all should have adjusted weeks ago, like just higher expectations for Ethereum this cycle. And we've talked before, like, I wonder, if Richard Hart has done that. Like, I wonder if he believes that, as far as we are into the game, he went on those tweet storms and stuff like that a couple of months ago about ETH and postcards and advertising and all this stuff and calling out Vitalik, and rightfully so. But maybe just seeing that, his words are falling on deaf ears and those people just don't want to listen or, do much to advertise or promote the product anymore. And that doesn't mean that Ethereum's not going to go anywhere. I just wonder, I still think it's going to be the catalyst that pulls up the rest of the altcoins, but my expectations for it this bull cycle, I mean, I have to lower them. Like, I think there was a time before where, like, I don't want to say the max bullish case, but I think the best realistic bullish case for ETH was probably like 20K or something that a lot of people thought. And I honestly would be happy with 12 at this point. I mean, seriously, that'd be a little bit more than a 2K off of 2X off of last cycle. We're at not even 2,000 right now. As you mentioned, it's gotten to 4. What about you? I mean, like, it doesn't really matter what we want or what we think we're going to get. You're going to get what you're going to get. But what's your kind of expectation? Like, I mean, do you agree with me that maybe we have to lower them now?
No, and I think that's market bottom sentiment. When everything is burning to the ground, I think people kind of get in that fear. But what you have to understand is once it does take off, it does set off a chain reaction. So, everybody sees the green candles. Everybody wants to buy in. Your taxi drivers start talking about it. It's just, I don't think so. I think it's more sentiment right now. It kind of tells you where we're at in the cycle, where people are like, oh man, if we can get to 10 grand, I think we'd be happy. But that's really a terrible performance. I don't think we're to that point yet. I think if it gets to June, July, ish and we haven't seen anything and we're still sitting under 3,000, then maybe, but I think things are going to turn around. I think the markets in general are going to even out with, you had talked about earlier, the whole tariff things going on is creating a lot of uncertainty with a lot of people. So once those type of things get ironed out, I think things start to move in the right direction. It creates a chain reaction that kind of just plays off and does what it needs to do.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, and we do still have a lot of movements that need to be made. We'll see how the rest of the market does go, but yeah, let's actually transition right into the Trump tariff thing, and we'll continue to monitor Ethereum, obviously, as horrible as it's been. But so just today, just an hour or two ago, we did have announcements on what his plans were, and obviously, this entire year, like really, I guess you could say, since Trump actually got elected, there's been conjecture about a lot of worry about the tariffs and, oh, this guy's not really going to implement them. People going back and forth, like, is he really even going to do it? And it's like, yeah, he's very serious about it. He's been talking about it for a long time. He's thinking long term. And sure enough, here we are. I mean, like, it's been something that he's been going on about. And he's done so many things in only his little over 2 months since he's been sworn in. But he just gave a speech about an hour and a half ago or so. Long list of reciprocal tariffs were announced today. Canada and Mexico, I know, were the headliners that were not on the list. And I don't think you or I are going to pretend that we have our ear to the ground on what's been going on with tariff news necessarily. But in terms of what was expected versus what he delivered today, it seems like the results are pretty mixed. Like, a lot of people thought he would go too far and were afraid of what he would do. A lot of people thought it would just be a total bluff or something. And I think we're maybe getting a mixture of the two. And you do immediately see market volatility, which is kind of something to be expected. And of course, it's to the downside. I saw after hours markets for the S&P 500 went down like 2.5% right away, which big whoop. But of course, we're seeing BTC and stuff like that dip as well. So we're seeing this right now. But I also wonder, though, if this is kind of just priced in. I mean, this is all people have been talking about political wise, narrative wise, with macro for months and months and months, and that's scared of the Trump tariffs. To me, I'm almost wondering, this is the initial action we're seeing, but like over the next day, could we see a bounce? Because this may already be priced in. Like, people have already been afraid of this stuff, and now we've actually got clarity with what he's put out there. And now some of these countries, some negotiating or backing off can begin. So I guess I'm curious. I know neither one of us are experts on that, but in terms of just like the market's response to it, Ewok, what do you feel? Do you agree with me there? Because I don't know. I just get the vibe that people have been talking about this so much, and now there's some more clarity around it to me.
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the big things is the clarity around it. I think what people don't understand, and I found this was in the thread that you had sent over to me from Zero Hedge, the post, and it shows the current tariffs that we're actually paying right now. And I think people don't understand how we've been getting ripped off. We're paying a 67% tariff to China, 90% to Vietnam. So what these actually, the reciprocal means, well, this is what you're doing to us. We're going to do something back. And I think what happens when you do that is they start to negotiate. Ideally, you come to an agreement to lower the tariffs for us, which in turn creates lower prices and a better trade market between the two. Right. So, some of these he matched. The UK, we had a 10% tariff. So he added 10% right back at him. A lot of these he added 10% right back. Some of the other bigger ones basically as a 50% of what we pay them. So, we've been unfairly paying all these prices to all these countries to import their stuff and not been getting anything back in return. So what this does is triggers negotiations and gets our pricing down. Ideally, that's the end goal. And I think if that happens, you'll start to see the lowering of prices, which I don't think that's priced in quite yet. I think the uncertainty is what's priced in, but people aren't sure what to do and when. So I think you're going to see something in the, in the next few days, week or so, positive, because again, it brings them to the table. They want to talk about it. They don't want to pay us. I mean, we still send a lot of stuff out. Yes, we get a ton of stuff. A lot of countries get a ton of stuff from China, Taiwan, places like that. They don't want to pay our stuff, coming into them, because they still import things. So if we can get those prices down, it lowers the price across the board. So I think that's very important for people to understand. They all talk about, well, our tariffs are going up now. It's going to cost the consumer this and that. And what they don't understand, this is a tactic to get them to the table to lower their tariffs that we're already paying for our prices. So, all the doomsday people that are calling the end of the world because of the tariffs, it's actually a good thing, and people need to understand what it really does. So that's my take on it. I don't think it's priced in, maybe a little bit. I think what we're seeing is the uncertainty. Now that this came out, I think people are going to react very quickly. And the sooner that we can get some of these other countries to the table to negotiate, the better off we'll be, and get some of those prices to come down. So they want to eliminate the tariff that we're going to start charging, and hopefully in turn it brings theirs down. So
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, and that's one thing I think, a great point that you made that a lot of people is lost on is the negotiating part of a lot of this. Like, obviously, if you want something from somebody, and this is the basics of, Trump's The Art of the Deal, or really it doesn't even take reading that book or anything. It's just understanding negotiating, overshooting what it is you actually want, sticking to your guns, and then having the chutzpah basically to walk away and mean it if they don't agree to your terms,
yeah.
And in the interim, there is some gut wrenching feelings, and you're worried and you're scared, maybe even as the person making the negotiation. But if you've already decided to yourself, like, well, this is what I want, and I'm not going to compromise anything for it, then that's what you do. That's what you offer. You offer your terms and you walk away. Now, obviously, a lot of like the American people or citizens of the world and stuff like that are not going to really give a shit, because they just want things to be nice and happy and all sunshine and rainbows all the time. And not only that, but how much does it really, this is a little bit woo-woo psychology stuff, but I mean, how much does it like actually affect every citizen's little 5-foot world, if you will? I mean, you have a lot of other things going on in your lives, and people like to follow the news, get pissed about everything that's happening, post about it on Facebook and crap like that all day long. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm with you though. Yeah, I think a lot of this is negotiating stuff. And we have talked about this. I mean, like, even though there's all these bullish things about Trump being a crypto president, he's buying up all this ETH and all these things. Like, for Christ's sake, he launched shitty coin on Solana and stuff like that. We still have this volatility because of all the changes that he is implementing. I mean, again, we just said it. He's only been in office now for 2 months, So I think we're going to continue, like you said, to see the uncertainty. But I actually think steps like this will lead to more clarity, because we're seeing like, okay, the tariff things are for real. He just introduced these, and we're going to see how countries fall in line and see who bends the knee and who doesn't, and where Trump's bluffing and where he'll back off, and
And I believe Canada has already withdrew. Mexico has already withdrew. Are they on this list?
No, I don't think they weren't on here. This is
and that's why, because they've already agreed to none. So they're already off the list. So all the people pulling the alcohol from the shelves and all that crazy stuff, that's already been taken care of. As far as I know. I mean, unless Canadian citizens are in here and can speak up to that. I mean, I think that one has already been handled and fairly quickly. So I think you'll see more of that in the coming days, week or so.
Yeah, I agree. And last thing on this, I wonder to you, like, how likely you think this could be that we will see the Fed cut rates here soon? Because I believe we have FOMC meetings the beginning of April, and then by at least beginning or mid-June or April. Did I just say that? I don't even know. Beginning of May and then middle of June or something. And I think at the moment there's like a 65% expectation that by June they will start to quantitative ease and lower rates. So do you think that that's what we'll see? I mean, because that would be kind of in line with what's happened in past cycles. We've never really seen, I know everybody keeps talking about seeing crypto in these more quantitative tightening times like we have over the last few years, but now we'll see some easing. I don't know how the legitimacy of like, oh, will there be stimmy checks sent from the Doge savings and shit? I mean, that's not something that I'm ever going to count on, but
No,
I wouldn't really care about it in terms of the money we'll get. I care about it in terms of like, there's an injection possibly into our
right.
market. But
Yep.
yeah, what do you think?
And I think, I think those will be priced in, and you may see that within the next month. If they're anticipating by June that they'll be lowered, those things get priced in. So I think people will front run it a little bit. That's what I'm saying. In the next couple of weeks, I think you're going to see a lot of this play out, a lot of things being priced in, rate lowering being one of them. It's going to work in our favor. And historically, like you said, April has been a very bullish month. So we've got, we're 2 days in, and let's see how it works out. But I think this is going to set things up to become the start of a nice little run.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so, because we've probably said that 16 times in the last goddamn year. So we will.
We're going to be right one sooner or later.
Yeah, one of these times the broken clock will be correct. So
that's right.
Cool. Well, I think that pretty much covers that. If you guys are here and enjoying the stream, do us a favor, peg the like button. We appreciate y'all being here. Yellowtail, Lawrence Roland, Tam, Fast Abdul is in the chat. We got DJ Moonboy, of course, Valiant Low Key, and a lot of others. So appreciate all of you guys being here. Let's take a look at those PulseChain prices. So we were having a pump from the massive dump, which means not really a lot right now, but we were seeing that today. I guess we're still technically up on the day. But again, with these Trump announcements, the market is ridiculously selling things off. So we've got Pulse at, once again, I believe, Ewok, the lowest that we've ever had it while we were on a stream live. We've got 4 zeros and a 213. It was as low. I don't know what the wick actually got down to. Somebody can probably help me out, but did it just go again? Yeah, of course. But I think we got down to like 4 zeros and a 1.6 or 1.7 or something like that. Like just literally like a 50% haircut from previous all-time lows on Pulse, which is just insane to me. Pulse X, of course, holding up pretty well as it has for quite some time. It's at 4 zeros and a 184. Inc at $1.14. Hex at 005 right now, and EHEX I think is whatever it would be.
0015.
0015. Yeah. So, we got to just look.
I want to see that candle that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't see it on here. When was it?
Oh, I don't know if a daily would actually show it, but because we just have had such volatility and all these crazy wicks. Maybe it would be on like a 4 hour. I'm not sure, but it definitely, I know just from looking at prices over the weekend and stuff. Pretty sure it was the weekend when we got to like double or 4 zeros, 1.7. It was in the midst of all these different spaces on Twitter going on and people talking about PDI is going to murder the chain and blah, 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 blah. As it just kind of death spiraled down. So I don't know what chart it would show up on, maybe hourly. I don't know if you really want to go down that low.
I'm on the hourly chart right now, and it was back on the March 25th. It looks like it did get down to the 1672 area.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a wick. It was a, well, maybe on a bigger time frame, but yeah, either way, that was our low, is the 167 ish.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, it's had a nice little recovery. We're getting a standard pullback. We had a very similar structure back here. Was yesterday. So these are the hourly. Let's go back to at least the 4 hour, if not the daily. Yeah. Daily candle looks a lot better. Obviously, we're making a V-shaped bottom here and coming up. I think we'll probably close today's candle about the same. Another green candle that should be okay. We just need to keep that trend up. I mean, it's looking positive from the low anyway. After you look how far we're down, obviously any green is helpful, and we've had 3 green candles in a row. So. Keep it rolling.
Not fantastic. If we would zoom out, maybe if we just go to the daily or whatever now. I mean,
I'm on the daily.
I never would have thought that we would see, I mean, literally like a 50% dip from the previous all-time low, like just insane. And I would love for us to be V bottoming out of that and for it to just to be a few day thing. But I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch or whatever the hell, if that even makes sense here, because, I mean, the sentiment on, I feel like the sentiment that I'm seeing right now is there's some people on this rally that are thinking that this is, they're in denial basically about this, but I feel like there's not enough people that are. I think everybody should be in denial that this is any kind of a good pump out of it, and we should still be skeptical, I think, right now. And we've been talking about this, and we can talk about like why the Pulse price specifically got this low. That we didn't see Pulse X get 50% below its previous low. We didn't see it with Ink. We didn't see it with Hex. Didn't see it with none of these. Why is it the Pulse token specifically that has done this badly? I mean, we know the Pulse X has been amazing against Pulse for its existence, basically. I mean, it's not in USD, but its price against Pulse has only risen to the point that it's gotten to parity. And you can probably credit a lot of that to the buy and burn, of course. But why do you think Pulse has done this and the others have?
Because it's tied to everything. Everything has a pair. So any of the tokens that are kind of being drained or whatever are affecting the price of Pulse. You only have so many trading pairs with Hex. You only have so many with PulseX. Yes, there is routers and automatic, order execution that routes through other things with trading pairs, but you have a WPLS pair with just about every token out there. So
yeah,
it's going to be affected a lot more, and the other things going down aren't going to pull the other stuff down with it if there's no pairs. So it's all liquidity bonding. It's the fact that almost everything has a straight up pair with Pulse that you're seeing that. And when things get moved around and liquidity gets pulled and shifted and people lose faith in one thing or another, or news comes out about something, it's going to affect it. And that's why we're seeing it the hardest in Pulse. Not to mention there is extremely limited liquidity at this time. So, as quickly as these candles the past week have gone way down, they can recover pretty quickly too. It doesn't take a whole lot of injection. I forget there was a site out there that showed you enter a number of money into the ecosystem, and it shows you what it would take or what it would change the price to effectively. It was a pretty cool site. I meant to bookmark it and I didn't save it. But $10 million at this point would raise it considerably. So that doesn't obviously include any buys or sells.
Right.
But what $10 million would do to this ecosystem is pretty crazy. So, again, it doesn't look good, but at the same time, it could be easily remedied with very little capital.
Yeah. The only thing is, and I get your point, like the low liquidity, it works as well on the way up. But that amount of capital isn't really going to come in probably until there's confirmations of a lot of other things, I think, at this point. So that's the unfortunate thing, is that capital coming in right now in these conditions, it would probably largely just be sold right back off over a week.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yep. And I don't know any smart whale that would do it at these points. I think there has to be, unfortunately, maybe a little bit more people shaken out that have big bags that are just waiting for a 2 or 3x from here to get out, and they would be gone. So, they may want to do it slowly if they have some sort of funding that they can do that to shake some people out at these levels, acquire some pretty big bags right now. Might not be a bad idea if that entity likes the product and doesn't really want to sell it, to get in at these levels to finish shaking some people out. Might not be a bad idea.
You just mentioned it. It kind of ties in with the part I was going to get to. Like, oh, and by the way, DJ Moo Boy, thank you very much for this, man. We appreciate that. You are the man, biggest supporter of this channel. You're here every single week. you are a DGen OG boy of this channel, so we appreciate you being here, man. The to your point about like whales selling down this low. I mean, there have been reports where neither one of us are on-chain sleuths, but that one major whale within the ecosystem that may or may not be somebody whose name rhymes with Sockham, I don't know, has, sold a very large amount, maybe half of what their total stack is. I don't know. I'm not interested in watching exactly what people do or if the people that are accounting for that stuff are even correct. But to see these kind of sell-offs down here, there's a long-term narrative of like Richard wants to shake out the weak hands and he wants the weak hands to get out and yada, yada, yada. I mean, just how badly do you think, because we have seen, Richard kind of, I don't want to say goes away, but allows things to get pretty rough, which I think is I totally do think it's the right thing to do. I think it is the right thing to not, you don't want people to be driven away by things that you do, even though some have said that it seemed like he did act like that throughout 2022. But, there have been major whales selling out major clips. I mean, like $1 million, I think, just within the last week or so from one of these wallets. How badly do you think he likes that happening? Because he's talked before about making whatever it is 1,000 millionaires and stuff like that. And maybe there will be a transfer of wealth this cycle. We saw Hex obviously last cycle. Now we're seeing the PulseChain wave with a bunch of other new investors in this ecosystem. How good do you think it is that some of these whales that may have been Hex whales from last cycle are selling in exorbitant amounts down here? And do you think RH cares, enjoys it, hates it? What is your take there?
I don't think he cares one bit. I think he's always talked about it. You get some of these big whales out at some lower levels, then they can't dump it when it's higher. There's less sell pressure at higher prices. It helps the price chart. It helps everybody, as painful as it may be. He's always talked about it. So I don't see why not. Now, what you have to remember, though, every ecosystem has whales. It just becomes a matter of how benevolent they are, right? How often are they going to sell big clips and murder the price? But they're there. They exist in every ecosystem. Every coin has them, whether they be just big whales or VCs or whatever it may be. Hell, sometimes it's even the company themselves. We know Ripple does it. They dump the price to pay for employees, to pay for funding, to pay for political campaigns, whatever it may be. They do it to their own, ecosystem. So I think he loves it. As sadistic as that sounds, I think he enjoys seeing some of these bigger entities get out at the low prices. Again, they can't hurt it on the way back up. So it just helps springboard everything. It helps it flow much better. I don't see a negative about it at all. Now, the person that you were mentioning, there is some speculation too that there was a very big sacrifice fund that came from his wallet,
right?
That got divided many ways, and I forget how many millions of dollars were put into that pool from multiple people. So it's really hard to say who it was, but there's obviously speculation there. But either way, I'm happy to see him get out too. Again, it's less sell pressure later, and it works out better for everybody.
Yeah, I'm honestly a fan of it. I mean, you usually see people like upset about it or bitching about it when it happens, but I do agree. Like, it can't. I'm not going to say it can't get much worse than this because I've thought that many times before. But I mean, we're at bottom prices, so yeah, you would rather have these people out. I mean, Ethereum's not even sniffing all-time highs, so in these conditions, this is what you want to happen.
And I didn't even mention this. He does like to mention how many X's that we did from the bottom. So the lower it goes, the higher it pumps, the more X's that he can claim. The whole sell it on a double, sell it on a double, sell it on a double. Did that 13 times with Hex, and he loved to rub that in. So yes, it is a very good talking point for him. So
yeah. Yeah, and again, that's a massive wick down that we had. I mean, Pulse 50% down from his previous all-time low. So, I mean, if it doesn't hang out here for long, which who knows, maybe it'll be here for 2 months. But if it doesn't, I mean, those are prices that like Digital Money Market said, you can claim on a chart to be up from. So,
well, just think 4 zeros in a 1, it's a 10x just back to sacrifice level.
Yeah.
I mean,
insane.
That's crazy.
And that's to kind of, and this is the last thing I want to talk about here, but that is talking about the power of DCAing long term, because again, obviously we wish that, as far as Pulse itself anyway, like, if you could go back the last 2 years and have not DCA at all and just DCA it right now, you would feel a lot better. Not necessarily, but again, you don't know what's going to come. You don't. Pulse X obviously, or also is over 2x off of its all-time low. So it's not like you're getting that with Pulse X. Hex has gotten somewhat near it, and Ink is up off of its all-time low. So what I was going to ask you, Ewok, because you kind of, not that this was like an opinion that you were dead set in, but I heard you saying, we were all talking the other day, and you said, about holding. Not being afraid to hold stables right now for lower potential, especially when you can earn some yield off them on those PulseX farms for the stable coins, the liquidity pool. For me, it's just been so hard, like just kind of helping, not that we're telling you what you should do, but I mean, for people that are interested in DCAing right now, I can't help but immediately firing on these prices. I mean, to me, it's like, I don't want to get cute. And while every single fucking buy I've made for 2 years has gone down seemingly, at this point, like this seemingly late in the game and how close we are to the market going up, maybe it's just very hard to sit in stables when we are in a bull market. I mean, regardless of how people may feel and how bad it is for our ecosystem and all altcoins, crypto in general, the Bitcoin is in a bull market. That's undeniable fact. So I don't know. To me, I just I get money and I'm putting it in the market. I mean, plain and simple. But what do you think about that? Are you deeply rooted in that opinion that because of where we are at right now, maybe stay in stables and wait for lower? Because to me, I just can't help getting in immediately.
Well, if I had gotten in immediately, I wouldn't have anything left to buy these levels. And what I think I'm more waiting for is a confirmation. I think once I see Ethereum actually start to run, I'm probably going to chuck it all in. But I haven't seen any kind of indication that we're at that level yet. Because I think once that happens, it is going to trickle down to our ecosystem as well. I think people will realize that, hey, bottom's probably here. It's time to quit messing around. And I would rather wait for that than to try and actually time an exact bottom. I would rather have it be up just a hair or a little bit, whatever, from our local bottom. And it may not even be exactly due to Ethereum doing whatever. But that's the confirmation that I'm waiting for myself. Like you said, I would rather sit there in stables, make some yield, and get some sort of confirmation and maybe miss the bottom by a little bit than to, like you said, every time you're putting in at these levels, not that this is the wrong way to do it, because your DCA has been incredible. I know that for a fact. But every time you put in that number goes even lower. So it's mentally frustrating too. And I just think the better way to do it is to wait for some sort of confirmation that we are going up and get it in then.
I guess it just depends on your circumstance, because sometimes when I think of it, I'm like, all right, well, the last time I bought was 20% higher from here. Now I'm getting a chance to buy an all-time low with Pulse. How can I sit here and wait for lower, I guess? But it is what it is. It's like, especially if you have cash inflows often enough, like weekly, let's say, or something, that's just kind of a time to DCA, and then you don't have to think about it as much.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's everybody's prerogative. I think basically this window, really, if you're zoomed out hardcore, and let's say that this market does actually go up someday in the future, we will hopefully look back at these couple of years as like this whole thing was a consolidation to DCA. Obviously, when we were 3x above SAC rate, in May when we launched or whatever, versus now, you want to be buying more now. But this entire channel was a time to DCA, hopefully, where we'll see later on, so.
Yep, I agree. But again, the majority, because I was in last cycle, the majority of the excess cash that I had went in to Hex, obviously before that launched or during the launch phase of that. So, I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not taking, I am taking a certain percentage of each paycheck. I still work. I still have a job. So I do take a small percentage of that and put it aside.
Oh, you were taking a shot at somebody there or something like
that.
I still have a job.
I know, but I know a lot of people that retired.
I know.
You know what I mean? And they're living off of
Why don't you
crypto.
start a sacrifice, Ewok?
Well, that's always an option. I think I'll pass, but
okay. Maybe a GoFundMe.
Ewok's DCA fund. There you go. DCA.
I need a DCA into crypto.
But anyway, my point being is I already put in the majority of a big chunk the first cycle. And, I've got a little bit set aside. I don't have, the amount, obviously, and never mind. I don't know where I'm going with that, but okay. My point is the amount of money that I take out of my check each every other week is not probably what you're putting in, because, you're newer to crypto. So you're trying to get in as much and make this cycle count, right?
Yeah.
I made last cycle count. So I'm kind of doing okay with my portfolio balance. I'm not putting in those type of amounts. So
I get it. Digital money Marcus, yeah, I agree with you, and this is why why we can all feel like losers together with Ethereum. It would be very different, he says, if ETH were at 4,500 and we were at these exact prices. With Rockham down on his stack and a window to DCA, it's only an opportunity at this point. I agree. And that's why Corey Geary, every day on his show, looks at what he calls the secret chart, which is just pulse against Ethereum, and it's gotten back down towards the bottom a little bit again, and maybe even done a slight wick to a new low, but it's basically hanging down there where it's been. So looking at that chart can kind of bring you a little bit more comfort to show you, if Ethereum's not going up, neither are we. So yeah. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much wraps us up on prices of stuff, but I think it was really important to get that deep into it because of just where we've gone over the last couple of weeks. And like you said, the low liquidity being a major reason why too. So keep that in mind too. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor, hit the like button. We appreciate you being here. We got Paladin YYZ, Canadian. That might be Canadian right there, actually. We got Marco in here again and a lot more. So appreciate all of you guys being here. Crispy Man, I saw, came into the chat earlier too. So shout out Crispy. I'm debating which angle to get on this at, and I guess it's a little bit of a sensitive topic. Lots of people have thoughts on this, and we can kind of just tackle. There's kind of a three-headed monster about a couple of things with the PDI narrative that we can kind of smash out, I think, by discussing this, and we can take it from an angle of how to be careful of what you get involved with, maybe when it comes to crypto. So I don't know where you would want to go with this first Ewok, and out of anything that I sent you, I guess we could start with what Maddie's doing with, speaking of sacrifices, with this. I didn't really read it all, to be honest, and I don't think you probably did either. I don't want to speak for you, but a sacrifice for a new PDI of some sort. Basically sacrificing for your right to believe in stable coins that can pump, I believe is how maybe it was branded. I don't really want to go through and read it. I don't know if you do. This PDI thing is really getting a lot of people into certain frames of mind that are interesting. This has been the most interesting, I think, kind of social dynamic within PulseChain that I've ever seen. And the reason that I think it has seemed the most bearish sentiment-wise is, not only because Pulse just hit all-time lows, but because this isn't the SEC coming after us and us all, putting our fists up to fight them. This isn't bullshit, Interpol red notice stuff. This isn't like the typical shadow banning, we're going to get to the Rabby wallet thing later. It's not another thing like that where it's like, oh, this one entity against us all or whatever. This is like people kind of fighting from within, vehemently disagreeing. And I mean, getting as heated as I've ever seen. We have those spaces that are pretty much going on every day now with, I forget his name, that KRD guy, and Panos, I know, are kind of hosting them. And there's some interesting conversations in there every now and then. And I think it's really good with the PDI stuff too. If you're going to listen to like Sami or 9 Iron Capital or Decentralize Me, then you should probably also listen to those spaces, which are largely the other direction.
way.
Yeah. Or Alex McWhorter or whoever. And I really do believe that. And I've done that myself. Like I've tried to listen to everything and I still don't know. And that's the position that I like to take on it. But what, I know I'm going all over the place with the PDI stuff because there's so many different things, but I guess what do you make of like where we're at with it now? A seminal question that I think a lot of people are saying is like the death of PDI will be the death of or PDI is the death of the chain. That's coming from, I think, kind of the fear mongering people that want to believe that it would actually do that. But a couple things we should point out. We talked about this the other day. There is no exploit. Like that word, and I used it in the title of one of our videos the other day. There is not an exploit. I shouldn't have used it. People that are using it should stop using it. I think that's one of those scare tactic type words that could lead people to think like there's something wrong with the chain, which there's not. There's a maker contract on the chain that somebody is using as it is designed, basically.
Well,
whether you think they're malicious or not. Sorry, go ahead.
I think to rephrase what you said, PulseChain does not have an exploit.
Yeah.
I think somebody is exploiting a contract on PDI. So I think it's how it's framed, but there is no, and I think, well, we can even go down to another rabbit hole, speaking of Rabby, with that. And I think that's part of the reason why they decided to do what they did, because they may have heard exploit somewhere, not really done a whole lot of looking into. Anyway, let's finish this topic before we go there. But
okay.
I think, the true definition of exploit is to take advantage of something. And I think somebody is exploiting a contract that is on PDI. But yes, your terminology for people to say there's an exploit and not define what they mean, people are assuming that PulseChain has an exploit, and I don't really think that. I think people need to correct that speech a little bit.
Yeah, because it sounds like dangerous and sounds like something that's happening on the chain, or to the chain, which is not true. I wouldn't even call it an exploit with what's happening with PDI. I mean, like somebody is using it the way that it is set up. I mean, whether you think that what they're doing is good or bad might be another thing, but I don't think exploit sounds like a hack or like a something like that. I don't know that I would call it that, but what do you make of where we're at with the PDI stuff? Because there's still clearly stuff happening. There's stuff happening with Maria Rail. What he has like Van Argen. There's like 16 names now. But he's renouncing some of these Teddy or not stupid coins, not teddy bear, T-bill stuff that he had. Like I'm doing my best to keep up. I mean, I'm just checking with stuff here and there. There's still things going on. I don't know what it is. Some people won't touch a tropa or anything within it with a 10-foot pole. Some people still have a moon bag of PDI, whatever. Other people think that it is, something that we need to take care of ASAP. Then there was somebody the other day talking about like, well, could Richard fork the chain? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, there's just so many things going on with this. I think everybody's probably going too far and taking things a little bit too seriously. But what are your thoughts on that? Actually forking the chain?
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it will ever happen. I know Richard was pretty. He spoke pretty strongly against when Ethereum rolled back the chain. To take care of something. It would essentially be doing something like that, to roll it back and fork that out. Not going to happen. I don't think that is an option even at this point. So you might as well throw that out the window. As
I think
far
Brett
as
just real quick on that. I think Brett tweeted that as well the other day. I think he
did he?
retweeted. I think he retweeted somebody mentioning that, and he was like, "Yeah, this is not going to happen." Essentially,
No,
yeah.
I didn't see that, but I know how strongly he felt against them rolling back the chain to make somebody's mistake get fixed or whatever it was, and never a good thing because so many things happen along the way that you just can't do something like that, and not in DeFi. That's not DeFi, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. There was a very interesting spaces that I caught the recording of. I think it was from this afternoon. Panos was one of them. There was another guy talking, and the web of just liquidity. The problem is everything is so tied together. When Atropa came out, there were hundreds of tokens that got launched. There is on-chain proof of them allocating or paying people to promote them at the same time, saying, you got to burn some of this liquidity to keep them floated. So there was a lot of side deals happening. Did you hear that spaces as well today?
I don't know. They've been having like almost 24-hour ones for like a week.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
I
the
mean,
one this
not today,
afternoon that
no.
was recorded, and I caught it. I think it was on. I don't remember if Panos had it on his X feed or not. The recording of it, but it was interesting. They were really calling some people out, and there's apparently a group of people that paid B Roots originally to start marketing this for everything for PDI because they had this whole web of liquidity going that was essentially the start of everything because Maria had bought 4 billion PDI at the very beginning. Apparently, got in some very good prices. Hey, great for them, right? And then they kind of developed this whole narrative or whatever to tie all these coins together and make liquidity webs, and it's very interesting. Listen to it. There are some accusations in there that are being thrown.
I was just going to say, I'd be careful with I know you were just paraphrasing what they said, but the claim about B Roots and saying that publicly and stuff. I mean, I'm not defending anybody.
I'm not making any of the claims. I'm telling you what was said in that chat.
Yeah.
And I believe Coach X, I don't know who that is, but he was part of he kind of agreed to it and then kind of backstepped on it. Either way, I'm just saying what they were talking about. I don't know of any of it. Apparently it's in recordings and they're going to put out the proof, whatever. But anyway, I think a big part of this problem is that Maria with the Atropa, the whole web of things kind of started as a plan. I don't know if they knew about this, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it an exploit or a contract or whatever that can be surpassed over some sort of limit. I think it is over the limit now. So why it didn't stop, I'm not sure. Either way, I think the way they were talking, though, is there was pretty good evidence of this being kind of the grand scheme. The whole thing was kind of a scheme to get everybody to kind of jump on board and start promoting this thing and go from there. So anyway, that's what I listened to this afternoon. I found it very interesting. There were some allegations thrown, and there's claim of proof, and the guy who's apparently going to be gathering all that stuff and putting it out there so everybody can see it. So anyway,
yeah, I didn't hear that one, but I do. Whether you agree, I mean, there's so many points being talked about in those spaces that there is no, main point I think that they're agreeing on. I just am happy, I guess, that they are going on, and I think they started pretty much mainly as this PDI thing's an emergency. What do we do to shut it down? What can we do with coming up with ideas, or fix it, or whatever else? Which is all good. Sometimes you get into them and they're a little bit toxic, and people are just. It's hard to sometimes listen to people anonymously go at each other. You already see it like on Twitter, but then like to hear them going at each other like that sometimes is not fun. But whenever they're the more fun, like civil discourse moments, those have been really productive and cool, I think, actually. So I was actually going to get to what we did have on the screen just now.
Okay, I just figured until we talked about it, might as well get rid of it.
So yeah, I mean, what do you make of this? I know apparently people have sent money to this. I don't really know why. I mean, I'm not going to say a lot. Maddie's a polarizing figure. I think that's one thing that we can't really disagree on. You know, and the thing that I think is funny is like, so he came up with this idea that I don't think, sure, I mean, some people will probably send money into it. I don't know why I wouldn't do it. And I don't think anything will come of this, whatever it is, version of PDI or anything like that. But the people that make claims about Maddie and say like, I always love this when somebody put up a poll the other day, and it's not the first time this has happened. That like, should Maddie be allowed to host the conferences, or should there be a new host of the conferences? And it's like 70% yes, and blah blah blah. It's like, you do understand that he does all the work. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, I'm not saying something I love, hate Maddie. I'm not even saying anything like that. I'm just saying this isn't somebody that we elected to work for us or something. He is doing it all, you know? So it's not just like, oh, I'm going to pick a name out. How about Hexologist? It's like, well, he's kind of busy. He's got a family, a bigger family. We just found out, it sounds like, coming. You know, oh yeah, Hexo. It should be, it doesn't have fucking time to do it. You know, you don't just get to, like, people are doing that's what is actually beautiful about the chain and the organic nature of the ecosystem is people step up and do what they want to do. Like you and I having a show, we just decided to do it. Are we the best brains to be talking about PulseChain? No, probably not. But whatever, we do it and we talk about what we want to. And
we try to show up every week for people to get information that they may not get otherwise. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Somebody else, if they want to step up and have their own, great. If you don't like what Maddie's doing, don't go. I mean, what is with the world these days where they just want to, like, I don't understand how people, we vote Maddie shouldn't do this anymore, but we don't know who's going to fill the place. Well, you know, if you don't like it, it's one of those, if you don't like what's on TV, turn the channel, right?
Right.
If you don't like what Maddie's doing, don't support it. But the guy takes money out of his pocket. He takes time out of his life. He puts these things together. It's not easy. I've seen the goings on. I've been to a conference before and see how much work and time is involved in all this stuff. So whether you like him or not, I mean, he's doing wonderful things for the community, for the chain. You know, I may not agree with everything that Maddie does, but I'm not going to sit here and badmouth anything or him sacrificing his time or energy or anything like that. Like I'm not going to sacrifice for this because I just don't think it's going to do well.
You don't believe in stable coins that can pump?
No, I don't believe in no. Like I don't. I've honestly not really been a big fan of starting a stable coin from zero. Like it just doesn't make sense. I don't know how you collateralize it. First of all, there's a lot of issues with that, and you know, anyway, that's another story for another day, I guess. But I'm not going to badmouth what he's doing. You know, if you want to send money and you like the idea or you want to support it, then go ahead. But yeah, I think people that are out there just flaming and trashing people for an idea or something that they're doing is ridiculous.
And DJ and Moonboy hit the nail on the head. It's always the people not doing shit who are griping the most. Yeah. And the person that started this poll seems to be somebody that I usually see that's just kind of complaining all the time about stuff. So yeah, I just, you know, who do you think is going to just step up and do it? It's not really, doesn't really work like that. But yeah, in terms of this, I mean, I would definitely not sacrifice for this. I'm not interested in it at all. And I think we just still got to see, I know Ewok, you know, we haven't totally agreed on this, but I just kind of take the stance of not entirely knowing what's going on. And, you know, we'll see what happens with the actual PDI, because that isn't something that can be duplicated on the chain. I mean, it's not going to be. But
well, for total transparency, I sold the PDI that I have. So just, I mean, I feel like if I'm going to be open and honest about it, I sold what I had because I don't believe it, and I do think it's a problem. So people should know that if we're talking good or bad about it. I sold what I had, so
okay,
I think that's fair.
I did not. So somebody's probably going to break down my front door and arrest me here within the PulseChain community. Here's the Hex Police. But not that it's hardly anything anyway. And I've sold the bottom of things too many times in the past to know that it's usually not a great idea. And whatever, I don't really give a shit. I mean, I'm going down this whole goddamn ship at this point. It doesn't seem like it's ever going up. So, I'm here till the end either way. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's just, we'll continue to see how the PDI story goes. I mean, at least like for now, it seems like the people that are at each other's throats constantly have backed off at least a little bit, and we'll see how the whole, the people that are actually trying to censor people that talk about it and stuff like that. I think that's where it's going a little bit too far. And especially when you're tweeting stuff like that from an account that represents like a company or an entity, I just think is not a great idea. But, people can do what they want to do, and it's blockchain and free speech. So what do we got here from YYZ?
He said until RH comes on stream and addresses the crowd, all this talk is nonsense, which, I agree. I think, once the streaming resumes, if it ever does, I honestly think that will be the catalyst for a lot of things. Some people claim that he may never stream again. I don't know. Maybe he's waiting for the red notice to go away. Maybe he's waiting for the SEC decision on April 21st. Maybe there's a lot of maybes. Nobody knows. Really, nobody knows except Richard if he'll stream again. Knowing his personality type and everything, I believe that he almost has to at this point. He's not done. He's not done with what his goals are, with what his kind of mission is. So, I don't believe he's done streaming forever. Some people think he'll never be back, but I don't see that.
I also don't think that he'll necessarily specifically come up and spell things out on a stream ever exactly the way that people want them anyway. I mean, they're just like the posts on whoever is posting on his Twitter account, because it's not Richard. Just like those posts, he can sometimes be ambiguous even on stream. I mean, how many clips have we seen about the supposed stablecoin ideas and stuff like that we've seen in past years, like he even talks like that when he's on stream. So what are you smiling about? You laughing at something? Oh, okay.
No. The fact that you said that's not him tweeting either. So,
well, I'm pretty sure that's what the bio says on there. So he doesn't tweet. He doesn't read newspaper. He doesn't.
No, that's not what it says. He says
messages that are on the legs of pigeons.
I don't communicate via Twitter or whatever. Means I'm not going to have a conversation on there. That's what that means, because it all goes back to when people were trying to serve him. The SEC was trying to serve him paperwork. He didn't communicate via Twitter. That's what he was getting at, and that's why that's been there ever since then. So, yeah.
Okay. Maybe I was being a little tongue-in-cheek, maybe not. Yeah. So, all right. We are going to be wrapping up here shortly. We got to talk about the Rabby wallet thing. If you guys are enjoying the stream, hit the like button. Help support Real DeFi. Help support PulseChain. Help support us, because we're broke. So, give us that small YouTube paycheck we get once a month, and that way we can DCA into the PulseChain ecosystem. And we appreciate all of you being here. And, support you guys as well. So thank you all so much. You can lose the Maddie thing now if you want to, I think. But yeah, so in terms of this Rabby wallet thing, so we talked about it a little bit last week. There was a notice that came out that it said like the end of March, they were going to cease the integration of PulseChain, basically meaning if you guys are unaware of how this works, this is why I think everybody on all sides are kind of blowing it out of proportion. Maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, whatever. All it was is they had a default RPC for PulseChain, which is basically a way to set up the network by default where it would read all of your Pulse tokens, nice, sleek, tell you what the balances of them were, something that has only been a dream really prior to Rabby having that integration. MetaMask, you could never do that. You have to enter in your own custom RPC for PulseChain, something that, Ewok UI and everybody who's been in this ecosystem for years now, we've been familiar with. Like, that's just what you do, and then there's like MetaMask chooses to support like 10 other shitty L2 blockchains and stuff like that. Like, if you go on Base, or I can't even name them all, Arbitrum or whatever, they're probably all preloaded RPCs on MetaMask. PulseChain is one that you have to put in the custom RPC, and it's never really been that big of a deal. I mean, we just do it and use it, and yeah, you may not always see all of your token balances, but I've just always been used to that. So Rabby, one of many reasons people within this community, I think, were representing or pumping up Rabby and stuff like that, is because of the custom RPC, that the default RPC that they had set up, but also less issues, it seems, I guess. You can even maybe tell me this, because I didn't really see, when I transitioned to Rabby for a little bit, I didn't really see that many improvements, but people talking about like less failed transactions, able to work with different smart contracts better and stuff like that. I did not experience much of a difference myself. I don't know why there are differences with people. Okay. So yeah, I guess just tell me about that first before we really get into this, because like Randy Hilarski was recommending Rabby for a couple years. He was the first person I ever heard talking about it. And we really did. I think PulseChain sent a lot of people there. We both went to it eventually. A lot of people went there. And then to have this happen. So we'll get to this happening. But yeah, why did you want to try out Rabby, and what was better about it for you?
Well, I didn't have a choice. So every time I tried to load the Hex contract from the Ethereum side, MetaMask wouldn't load it. I would get failed transactions. They would sit there. They would get stuck. I would, anytime you end a stake, if you do the right thing, which is also mint your Hedron, mint your Communist tokens, they wouldn't pop up. Like I would press the button to run the code to mint those first. I would never get the MetaMask pop-up telling me that to accept the transaction. Just a lot of weird, glitchy things. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Rabby and try it. I enjoyed how everything was there automatically. Like you said, the prices of all the tokens were there. Didn't have that issue at all. All the contracts worked fine. Custom. So anyway, all my problems went away, essentially, that I was having with MetaMask. My life problems stayed, but the MetaMask problems.
The clouds parted.
I saw your face when I said that.
It was good.
But yeah, so all the issues that I was having with MetaMask wallet went away. So that fixed it. Now, moving forward, that they de-integrated it, and now you have to enter the custom RPC. It's kind of weird because none of the coins show up when you run a whatever. I did the Hedron Communist ended a stake since then, and it's weird because the custom code that comes up before that it would tell you what it was running, what it was going to do for that contract that you were running, no longer does that. Now you get a whole bunch of code in the box that says custom code, and so it's a little shady.
Looks weird, probably.
It looks weird. It looks kind of scary, almost a little bit. That so it is a little intimidating. You had and I found out the best way to add your tokens back in, and a little trick for people to do, is that if you open Piteus and you go through their list of tokens, it'll read your list there of everything that you hold on PulseChain that they offer. And then you just click the little, there's a Firefox, a Fox, or maybe it's a MetaMask Fox, whatever.
I think it's the MetaMask symbol, yeah.
Beside each one of those. So if you go down through the list and you add that as like you're going to swap it and hit the Fox, it'll add it right to Rabby. So all the tokens that you're holding based on what Piteus is reading for the most part. I think it got almost all of them. and you can just add them one by one pretty quickly. So that's a little help that you're not having to enter contract addresses, which is the safest way. But if you're already holding those tokens, chances are you've already looked to see a contract, so it knows the balance that you're holding. So just anyway, just a heads up, a little trick for people that are going to stay with Rabby and integrate, that way, or do it yourself with the custom tokens and add them yourself.
And that really, that was always the way that you could do it on, it's basically just the same thing we've been doing on MetaMask now for years. Yeah. And that is a good tip. Like you hook up to Pateus or whatever the DEX is that you're using. And I know Pateus anyway, like you said, if you click that symbol, it will just go ahead and add it right to your wallet instead of you, as you mentioned, having to go to like DEX Screener, find the correct Orange Man good coin or whatever it is, copy that contract address, bring it back to your wallet. Like that is just too much. So it's cool.
Confirm the decimal places, all that good stuff. Yeah. It's much easier to do. And now you do have to approve it. Like you click it, Rabby pops up and it says add token and it tells you what your balance is. And you just click yes. Now you don't have the pretty symbols or anything like that. Don't forget, internet money still is out there, still works good. It's still integrated with all the PulseChain coins. I don't want to forget about them because they are still integrated and default PulseChain on there. So, we want to give KG some kudos for sticking with that and constantly making some improvements. So,
yeah, and kudos to him too. They just had a space in reaction to this Rabby thing last week for Internet Money Wallet, where they talked about some of the things that they'll also be upgrading and how quick their services and things like that. So shout out to them as well. With the people that are upset about the Rabby thing, I mean, like, I see pretty much all sides of this. Like, it's not as if you cannot use Rabby Wallet if you're on PulseChain. There's just no longer a default RPC there. That's what this is. It doesn't mean like if you're on PulseChain, you're not allowed to have Rabby Wallet. That's not what it is. Now, I do understand like the convenience of having a default RPC and it not being there, but I think some people should be patient with how much they attack them necessarily. And there's different kinds of attacks too, or maybe attack's not even the right word. Like, you don't want to go all MEXC on them. Like a lot of us did, like me included, where you just think like, what do you mean MEXC's asking for more money? We already paid them for a listing, even though the people bitching didn't even make the payment. But you realize eventually like, oh, well, actually there's more that goes into getting a token listed on an exchange. We found out from Panos and his talks with MEXC and stuff like that. So maybe it's not as good just to, run roughshod over these people without even really knowing what's going on. There's that, which I think isn't always the best look. But then, and I didn't put this in the notes originally, Ewok, but I really want to get your take on this, because what a lot of people have taken to doing the last couple of days after we found out that they did disintegrate it, or whatever you want to say, is they go on Trustpilot and leave 1-star reviews for Rabby. And I'm not encouraging anybody to do this. Definitely don't go on Trustpilot and leave a 1-star review for Rabby, or, go to the App Store and leave a 1-star review for Rabby or whatever else you do. But some people are like, hey, guys, this isn't the way to go about this. What are you doing? People are tweeting like, hey, make sure you leave a bad review or whatever. What's your take on that, Ewok? Because in my opinion, like, that's the market just reacting to an action that the wallet took. They're customers. They don't like what you did, and they're leaving you a 1-star review. I find nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Like, I do think, and I do disagree with how we handled the MEXC thing with like shitting on them. They're a crap exchange, blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's anything great about that. But if you are a user of an app and they do something you don't like and ruin your experience, usually people leave bad reviews for that. I
agree. Yeah. So my take on it is, what I don't want to see is don't blame the company, don't bash them. Tell them, be professional about it. Tell them you're disappointed. I come to find out that my favorite EVM chain is no longer supported. 1-star. That's all you really have to say. Don't go out and say you're a terrible company or this or that or whatever. Make your feelings known, but be professional about it. I did. I left a 1-star review myself today. So listen, they need feedback. And if enough people do that, they could easily have their app taken down. Enough 1-star reviews and you'll get removed from, I know, at least the App Store on Apple. I saw other places showing a rating of, they went down to like a 1.1. They were at a 4.3 or 4 point something. Yeah, it went down. It went way down. Now, I didn't notice that when I did it. It was still at a 4 or something like that. But I saw them coming in. I saw the 1-star ratings coming in. Listen, I hope people just can remain professional about it. I don't have a problem with you telling them that you're upset that they removed it. I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, as long as you're courteous about it and whatever, you're showing dissatisfaction with a decision that they decided to do. Not only that they decided to do, but they didn't give us they don't have to, obviously, but they never gave a reason. We've had people kind of being intermediaries with them that do talk. I believe the guys from Pateus were one of them.
Yeah.
They're trying to work with them to see what's up. I know Alex McWhirter sent a nice little tweet earlier today saying, hey, if you need backups of any of the stuff or the history, we can still work together. Like, there's something that we can do. So there are people being courteous. And again, I just think, don't flame the company, but you can flame their decision. Like, they made a decision to do something. People can react how they want to, but just, I hope people can remain professional about it.
I agree. Your consumers reacting to something that you consumed, not, no longer being a good experience for you. So whether that's organic just by people doing it, or whether, organic is organic. I mean, they start posting about it on Twitter, and then other people are like, yeah, that is a good idea. I mean, like, that's what happens. And honestly, like, that is one of those reasons that I'm happy to be part of this community, because these people really give a shit. I mean, what other chain would do that? You know what I mean? Like, first off, I don't know that another one would get disintegrated from Rabby. And as far as the reasoning too, I just saw, I don't know if it was Digital Money Market, somebody put something in there that maybe it had to do with they thought it had to do with like tax importing stuff or something to do with taxes. I mean, I don't know about that, but as far as it could just be some little dumb reasoning like that we are unaware of, just like the MEXC thing. Like, we did not know all the details of the MEXC thing, and on paper it looks like they want money from us. We give it to them, now they want it again after they delisted us. We don't know all the dots that are being connected, and we don't know if it's just like, we just hate PulseChain, you know. So
I mean, it could be something. It could be somebody paid them to do it. It could be something else. But here's the thing: before it happened, there were plenty of vocal people saying, listen, guys, please reconsider. You're going to have an angry mob coming after you if you decide to do this. So they knew, like, they still made the decision to do it for whatever reason, whatever. That's fine. So it's not like they didn't have a warning to say there's probably going to be at least 100,000 people that end up doing this, just to let you know there could be bad reviews, and you might want to rethink it, do what you want to do, but there could be repercussions from this kind of viral community here that doesn't let stuff like that slide, because they've been attacked and removed from so many different things over time. We kind of put Nomics out of business. I don't think it was solely the Hexicans that did it, but it didn't help, right? So anyway.
And the whole thing is kind of reciprocal. Like, maybe people have this short-term bias right now of like, oh, here comes PulseChain with the pitchforks after Rabby or whatever. Well, also, we were promoting it a lot, like for a long time. Like I said, Randy had been for the longest time. And I feel like, especially over the last 6-8 months, many people were singing Rabby's praises, and that was even you were. I eventually got one. I'm not saying anything because of anything that they did. I just didn't enjoy it as much. But like, and again, as you mentioned, Internet Money Wallet and KG and all the great things he does. Like, here's a wallet that a guy that's from the PulseChain community helps design, that has all these default settings too. Yet many were still actually promoting Rabby over it. Okay, like just to show you, I'm just trying to show, for if there's anybody feeling guilty about how PulseChain's going after Rabby now with the negative reviews and stuff, that's how much we were promoting it. So, I mean, if it still works well for you, it sounds to me, Walk, like you're probably still going to use it, which is fine.
Well,
I mean, like
I'm considering there is a OKX wallet as well, which is also has PulseChain integrated. Thinking about maybe giving that a shot as well. Just the one thing that I don't like about Internet Money Wallet is the font. For some reason it drives me nuts, and I don't know why it's such a little thing that I can't get past for some reason. But when I see the font of my seed words, and it looks like it could be, I don't know. It's something that kind of bothers me. So
no, I understand. It's not like a wall. I think that's why there's a lot of hesitance for some people to move to a new one, because that's like your security. So I understand people being nervous with changing wallets.
Now I do use Internet Money Wallet. I think I've told you that, and I mentioned it before, because I do own some Time Token, and I keep them in there, and we get the dividends for it. So it's not like I don't use it. I do, but for my, obviously for my main stuff, I prefer something that is integrated with everything and that I feel comfortable using. I haven't done OKX yet because it's kind of new. I'm going to give it a little time. I want to make sure it's battle tested, and now is definitely not the time to be just jump into a new wallet that we don't know a whole lot about.
I totally agree. Yeah, crypto security, and we had some other topics regarding that we were going to get into tonight, but I think we need to probably push them, because it's one of those things that even when prices are down in your portfolio, you look at the value and you're like, I mean, who even gives a shit about this anymore? That's what it's at today. So it doesn't make it being drained or being compromised in some way hurt less, just because the money might be less than it used to be.
Well, I think we still need to at least bring it up to people.
Yeah, go ahead.
We can go more in depth. But I also got an email this afternoon from Gemini. It was a fake email from Gemini saying that they were going bankrupt, and that I needed to transfer all my funds to this account. And they gave me the seed words, just like Brisology posted this one from Coinbase. They're transitioning, to self-custody wallets. Here's your seed phrase. Guys, please don't fall for any of these. All they are is accounts that are set up that have immediate fund transfers. Like, so if you do this and you put your money in there, it's gone in a heartbeat. Like it will sit there for a fraction of a second, probably that block, and the next block it gets sent out. So they have them set up that way, and you lose your funds. So please don't fall for any of these. I know most of the people that are here have been around for a while, but if this can help one person not do any of these things, or don't believe any emails you get, go right to the site, go right to the wallet, see, or go to their website and look for this information before just trusting an email or a post or something that you see. So please be extremely cautious. This is the we're at the bottom of the markets. I know it doesn't seem like much now, but the amounts that you could have at the top could be life-changing money, and I hate to see you lose it now because of a stupid mistake that that sounded too good to be true.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. You have to be. This is the thing that we have to realize. Like, the whole being your own bank thing is a real thing, and you have to be very, very careful with that. Take utter precautions, and talk about wallets and everything. Obviously, we both recommend having a hardware wallet. I think we've both been advocates of Trezor in the past. Ledger's just had too many compromises and customer information being breached and things like that. But definitely want to hardware up and use whatever front end you want, whether it's MetaMask, Rabby, Internet Money, whatever it is. But I think you want the security of a hardware wallet, obviously. So
yep,
cool,
yep, for sure.
All right. Well, just a little security update. We'll see what happens with Rabby. You guys use whatever you want, whatever your experience is good with, but we would like to hear from you and good experiences you have with wallets and stuff. But that's going to wrap us up for tonight. We appreciate everybody that was here in the chat. Valiant, Low Key, Digital Money, Marcus, DJ Moonboy, Zach. Boy, there was a lot. Tam was here. We had Crispy earlier. YYZ, Bitfinesse. I saw you in there earlier too. We appreciate all of you guys. Fishing with Camo Joe. Appreciate you being here. Moral of the story tonight, prices are down. We're still here. We're not going anywhere. Long-term vision. I know it sucks. I particularly had a rough day of it today. Just it seems like whenever stuff in real life, if you will, gets a little stressful, that's whenever maybe the feeling of the markets can feel a little bit more stressful because you want to be out of the situation that you're in. And then whenever, times in life are a little bit more pleasant, you're not thinking about it as much. But that's why, I've heard many people echoing this sentiment lately, like working on something right now to push through this, doing things that you enjoy doing. If you want to still be DCAing in, which, I mean, obviously we're doing, having money to do that as well. But keep your mind preoccupied, instead of ruminating about how down you are, which I'm speaking from experience and I am guilty of this and will do it again myself. But instead of trying to ruminating so much, it's going to come here and there, but keep yourself busy, do something productive, or hell, just fucking watch TV or something to take your mind off it here and there. But stay in the game. I think that's the thing that we both want to be doing. So any final words, Ewok?
Yeah, stick with it. Get outside, touch grass. Don't need to look at your account every day. It can get painful.
I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, DCA if you can. If you can't, then know that you're good with the position that you have. You're gonna have to wait maybe a little bit longer to see some gains. The time will come. Our time will come. We've been here this long. We're not going anywhere. Stick it out. So yeah.
Sticking it out. All right. Thank you, guys. We will be back here next week, April the 9th, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a Crypto Ewok. This has been Broke with Crypto right here on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.
Yeah.